It's actually some few trillion gut bacteria, most of them living in your large intestine. And there are more of them than all the cells in your body. 55-60% of all the cells in our body are bacteria.
Gut bacteria?
Yes. So if you do not eat properly, they can affect your mental health. Whether they're the good guys or the bad guys. So there are many varieties, right? There are good bacteria and bad bacteria. So if you're eating fast food, you're going to encourage the bad guys. Foods like coffee, foods like this nutmeg, all of these have brain-altering molecules. So people think you lose nutrition in the fridge. You don't. You lose it when you reheat food.
If we smoke after a meal, it aids the digestion, or people feel that way. Hey Ritz viewers, I have with me Mr. Krish Ashok. Popularly, எல்லாருக்கும் வந்து Masala Lab அப்படின்னு நம்ம நிறைய பேர் வந்து இவரை பார்த்திருப்போம் Instagramல. So let's have a conversation with him. Hello sir.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, great.
So there's so much to talk about food, and first of all, I want to ask you about that one food fact that blew your mind.
I think I've run out of, it's a huge list actually. Every month I keep discovering something new or the other. I think the realization that, like for instance, the disproportionate amount of effect on your digestion and your overall health that your gut bacteria play when it comes to how it reacts to what you eat is mind-blowing, right? The realization that there are as many bacteria cells as human cells in your body, okay? Oh. So are we human or are we bacteria, where the bacteria just treat the human cells as a house or not is very hard to say, right? So it's a very remarkable thing. And every month and every year we are discovering new things that they're responsible for. That they're responsible for your immunity, they're responsible for your mental health.
Gut
Yes.
bacteria?
Yes. So if you do not eat properly, they can affect your mental health. They can cause anxiety, they can cause depression. So it is, because there's a direct connection from the gut bacteria to the brain via the vagus nerve.
Okay.
And so reading about the gut bacteria is some of the most groundbreaking. I mean, it's very strange when you think that we have such a strong sense of, we are human, we are identity, our genetics, right? We've inherited. No, and when you realize that no, it's actually some few trillion gut bacteria, most of them living in your large intestine. And there are more of them than all the cells in your body, right? 55-60% of all the cells in our body are bacteria.
So the term hungry or hangry for that matter, when you're angry, if you're hungry,
yes,
is true.
Yes, every person reacts differently, but your gut bacteria have a huge effect on your emotions, on a lot of things, and very closely tied to ultimately what you feed them, right? And what you feed them determines whether they're the good guys or the bad guys. So there are many varieties, right? There are good bacteria and bad bacteria. So if you're eating fast food, you're going to encourage the bad guys. So the more you eat, the more you eat fiber, more you eat fresh whole foods, more you eat dal, etc., you're going to encourage the good guys, right? So it's about maintaining that balance of that population. So which is also why, right, every time you visit a foreign country, there's a 10-15% change in the population of your gut bacteria, because you're eating completely different food, different vegetables, different etc. In a week, it'll change. And then once you come back, in a week it'll change again.
Oh my
and
God.
During that changing process, you sometimes might feel digestive discomfort. Everybody has that, goes through some diarrhea and all of those things, right? When you go back to a country, you suffer from some problems. When you come back, you have some problems. All of this are, so the disproportionate role that gut bacteria play is just quite fascinating. And we're still discovering every month and every year new things.
That's amazing. But apart from human body,
yes,
with specifically about food that we eat,
yes,
is there any particular ingredient that you were amazed about when you read about it?
So my favorite story is actually about nutmeg.
Nutmeg.
Right? So nutmeg, jadika, right? And so nutmeg is something that we grate on top of, it's grated as an ingredient in garam masala and biryani masala and so on. It's a very important ingredient. It has a very strong aroma, right? It's very unique. So nutmeg comes in two pieces. There is the nutmeg, and then the red things around it are called mace, right? Jadipatri.
Patri,
right?
yes.
Yeah, and then so nutmeg has a molecule, a flavor molecule called myristicin, right? And that inside the body, as you eat it, etc., and it gets into your blood, gets converted to something that is similar to the drug ecstasy, right? So basically what happens is that in small amounts, right, you don't realize much. But above a certain amount of nutmeg, you will get high. Okay? And above that, it's poison. Right? So that's why nutmeg is something that you have to consume in very, very small amounts, right? And it's never always in very large amounts, right? And traditionally, I found out that in many parts of India, tiny pinch of nutmeg added to milk is given to small kids to put them to sleep. So because it makes them high.
This is a very, you can get it easily, like for people who don't have.
No, don't try to get high on nutmeg. You will poison yourself, right? Because there's a very fine line between getting high and being poisoned, right?
Oh my God.
And by the way, so they give it to tiny babies. It makes them stop crying because they're now mildly high. So in that sense, this is one of the most interesting things. So actually, it's quite fascinating how I think particularly foods like coffee, foods like this nutmeg, foods like not foods, right? Like your what is the areca nut, betel nut, right? All of these have brain-altering molecules.
And they directly affect your brain.
Yes. They get past all your systems, get into the bloodstream, and they affect your brain, right? So caffeine, for instance, blocks a receptor that essentially prevents you from going to sleep, falling tired.
That's
right?
the reason they say don't.
So your brain
drink
has an
coffee.
adenosine receptor that when it's fitted, your brain knows that you're tired. Right? So you need to take a nap, you need to relax, you need to chill out, right? And caffeine goes and blocks that, so now you don't know. Right? So you continue to stay very active, but that's why you have to remember that it's a very temporary thing, right? It's like taking a loan. You still have to pay you have to pay back the loan eventually, right? So you will crash, right? If you take too much coffee, you're very, very high energy, but then after that you will just completely crash. So caffeine kind of does that, but again, the more caffeine you consume, you eventually get used to it, but so that's what caffeine does, right?
Of course, yeah. I am like, oh my God, I'm still processing the nutmeg.
Yes.
So... Oh my God. Yes. So moving ahead, apart from nutmeg or coffee, is there anything like a very interesting ingredient that belongs to our culture?
Yeah. I would say one of the most fascinating, unique spices that I've come across, particularly in Tamil Nadu, and to an extent it is also used in Maharashtra, is kalpasi, so called stone flower, right? Okay. Now, most of us have sort of learnt about we've learnt about plants, we've learnt about algae, we've learnt about moss. But some of us may also remember we learnt about something called lichen, L-I-C-H-E-N, right? Lichen or lichen.
Lichen,
right? Yeah?
lichen.
So lichens, those of you the really studious types will remember that it's a symbiotic creature that is half algae, half fungus or something like that, right? So it's a symbiotic thing, right? And it lives on these these things, right? So it is and this is so kalpasi is a variety of lichen that we then dry and add to foods to lend a extraordinarily musky and smoky flavor, right? So that you cannot get that flavor from plants. See, so it's a fascinating thing. If you say animals, plants, and fungus, and if you ask people about fungus and say like a mushroom, right? Is that closer to a plant or closer to an animal? 99% of people will say it's closer to a plant.
Of course.
No.
No?
No. Fungus are basically closer to animals. That's why they taste like meat. Right? And so they produce molecules and they produce flavors that plants do not produce. Right? And that is why mushroom tastes like meat. And that is why it has the texture of meat. And things like kalpasi have that musky flavor that you cannot get from plants.
Okay, my brain cells are now.
Yes. So next time you smell kalpasi, you will know that you will not get that specific aroma from the plant kingdom.
Okay, so I think this information I need time to process. So let's move ahead from food facts to food myths.
Yes.
That we've been believing, which are not absolutely right.
See, I think there's just a huge list, right? I think from people believing that jaggery and palm sugar and other things are better than regular sugar. They're all sugar. People believing that honey is somehow different. No, it's still sugar. And people believing that refined oils are worse than cold press oil. It's all fat, right? And I think there's just a ton of myths. People believe that microwave destroys nutrition in your food. It's the exact opposite. Of all cooking methods, microwave retains the most number of micronutrients. See, people have to remember that, so people think you lose nutrition in the fridge. You don't. You lose it when you reheat food. Heating is what destroys nutrients, and heating only destroys micronutrients,
But
not macronutrients.
when you refrigerate a food, eventually you need to reheat it to consume it.
Yes. So it is the reheating part that where you lose vitamin B and C.
Okay.
Nothing else. Okay. And you can easily add vitamin C by squeezing lime. You can add vitamin B by adding a side salad. Okay. Or if you add other vegetables, it's not a big problem, right? So in the reheating process, microwaving results in the least amount of micronutrient loss, because microwave only heats the water inside the food and nothing else.
Okay, so is there anything else that we've been believing that you found interesting? Hey, idella ennada nambittu irkeenga?
Yeah, I know. So for example, in many situations, frozen vegetables are fresher than fresh vegetables, for example, right?
Oh.
Especially for vegetables that do not grow locally, that are actually grown in, say, colder places, and they have to be transported. You are better off with the frozen version, because the frozen version of the vegetable is harvested fresh and then frozen, and after that, it does not lose anything, right? So I think it's just all a mindset where I think people somehow believe that the more convenience in the kitchen, somehow less the health. Yeah. That's not true. See, health is a function of the diet that you can conveniently and sustainably practice is what will keep you healthy, right? If that means you have to go buy fresh vegetables and cut it fresh every time, that's not convenient. If it's not convenient, in general, over time, it will stop becoming healthy because you won't do it.
Right. So moving ahead, we'll talk about ads and how these advertisement influence the buying or the purchasing capacity of the audience.
See, I think it is good that now the public is waking up to misleading marketing, misleading labels, people claiming something is healthy, right, kid-friendly, fortified, enriched, right, and so on. Let's be, in general, see, advertisements are marketing. I think people just need to have the maturity that you cannot believe anything that's said in an ad, right? And at the same time, you have to respect the fact that a company is spending a lot of money doing R&D and producing something. They are going to make some claims. See, nobody is going to sell a product and say, this may or may not improve your health, right? This may or may not take care of your teeth, right? They're going to say it will make your teeth shine white, is what they're going to say, right? So therefore, I think both the public and the companies have to arrive at a thing where companies should not use misleading marketing. The public should not be gullible to believe any of these claims either, right? I think it requires a bit of both, right? Okay. So people should learn to read the labels and find out like how much sugar is there, right? And companies will say things like no added sugar, right? But then use dates and raisins. Sugar is sugar. Dates are concentrated sugar. Raisins are concentrated sugar.
But then we believe that dates and raisins are a healthier, option for sugar.
See, okay, if you eat a lot of dates as part of a dessert, then it's just a sugar. If you're eating one date as a snack, that's not a bad snack. You're getting some fiber, etc., etc.
One date.
Yeah, I mean, if you're eating 1 or 2 dates as part of like you're having chai and then you're having some 2 dates, right? And then you skip the sugar in the tea and instead have the 2 dates. It's fine, right? I mean, but remember, dates are exceedingly concentrated sugars. See, this is like, right? I mean, you are. It's like people trying to say that I will eat jaggery because there is iron in it. You need 100 grams of jaggery to get your daily allowance of iron from jaggery. That 100 grams of sugar will do a lot of damage, right? Yes. See, I think so. People completely think, but so you have to remember that dried fruits are exceedingly concentrated in sugars. See, the actual grape is mostly water. When you dry it and it becomes that tiny shriveled then it's very less water. It's all sugar.
But in terms of dates, we are made to believe that date syrup and milk is an amazing combination and it's healthy.
No, it's just milk and sugar, no, right? See, I think this is this fundamental misconception. People stop thinking in terms of, they cherry pick the few beneficial molecules in dates and ignore the insane amount of sugar that is there. You can eat a small cup full of raisins, right? If those were all full grapes, you would not have eaten that many grapes because you will feel full. So you are over consuming. So always be wary that when it comes to dry fruits, you are over consuming. You will over consume. And when I say dry fruits, I meant the actual dry fruits, not nuts. right? Almonds, cashews, those are separate, right? Just the actual dried fruits, because in India we use the term dried fruits to refer to everything, right? So nuts are separate, dried fruits, right? To your fig and all of these are super concentrated in sugars. Be aware of that.
So when we talk about dry fruits and nuts,
Yes.
there are a lot of households that use them as snacks,
Yes.
probably as an healthier alternative.
Yeah, yes.
But in general, in practical,
Yes.
we tend to choose colorful snacks, especially the colorful packets.
Yes.
Can we talk about that habit?
See those, so beyond the packaging, obviously, I think these things are designed to attract your eye, right? And they're also priced very affordably, right? And they're priced very affordably because they're actually ultra processed. So let's sort of break down what ultra processed means. Is that if you take carbohydrates and then remove all of the fiber, right? And then you add fats and salt to it, you're creating a product that is irresistible. Because you can just keep eating. It's incredibly tasty, right? They have the right flavors, they have the right levels of umami, they have the salt, they have sourness, they have the aromas, and it's hyper palatable. You don't have to work to digest it, right? So that's typically where the dangers of over consuming tend to come from, right? But it's very hard to over consume. It's like tough to eat a badam, right? I mean, there's only so much badam you can eat, and it'll make you feel full. Deep fried carbohydrates like potato chips or anything that is made where there is no fiber at all is going to be remarkably highly palatable, right? So always kind of, try and look at the ingredient list. And if you don't find fiber in it, there's a good chance that this is probably not a sustainable snack for you, meaning that you're going to just continue to binge eating.
But also talking about smoke, there's a lot of misconception, or I don't know, if we smoke after a meal, it aids the digestion, or people feel that way.
No. So this is completely illogical, right? I mean, this is like smoking will also make you feel warm, okay? So because it's cold in winter, right? People like smoking to feel warm. But the amount of damage you're doing on the long run to your body, there is absolutely nicotine smoke, cigarette smoke is a class 1 carcinogen, right? People on the internet will claim that will cause cancer, this will cause cancer, etc., etc. But evidence wise, the only things that we know are class 1 carcinogens. This is one of them. So therefore, you do not want to do something as silly as you could find many other sustainable ways to eat less food, right? Than smoke to try and do this. All these are myths. There is nothing remotely good. Just like there is no such thing as a safe amount of smoking. There is no such thing as a safe amount of alcohol.
Absolutely, and thank you so much. I'm still not out of that nutmeg.
Nutmeg, yes.
Yes, but thank you.
You must say, please do not try it at home.
Exactly, guys. So don't take risk.
Yes.
Leave that for the garam masala part.
Yes.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Mr. Ashok. You've given so many good, nice information.
Thank you.
Thank you.